Welcome to the Content Supply Show. This is a show where we bring together entrepreneurs and experts all across the internet, especially those who are bringing tons of value to the world from behind their computer to front of stage. We break down their creative ideas, strategies, and stories that guided them along the journey of entrepreneurship so that we can all learn and be inspired together. So before we get into the interview, let's chat Content Supply. Content Supply is a creative content as a service business where online brands and entrepreneurs can subscribe to a monthly supply of custom content to grow their business. So content like video, podcast, image, and blogs. This content is custom built to fit into 3 phases of your marketing experience. So 1, free content on social media, 2, paid ads, and 3, content used for paid programs, memberships, or funnels. We're all limited on time and resources to produce all the content we want and need to support our customers' journey from point A to point Z. Content Supply helps supply the filling of that gap. It's like the PB&J between your bread of your product or service and the bread of your funnel or your conversion tool. Go on over to contentsupply.com to learn more. So welcome back to Content Supply, the show. This episode is going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk more about my own story behind why I created Content Supply, my background a little bit, and we're going to position this really as the first podcast in this series. So who is Dallin Nead? Why Content Supply? So to kind of get into that, we're going to have to step back a little while. So when I was young, I really loved to tell stories. It really first started out with creative writing. I would write short stories on all sorts of different genres. I would draw comic books. I even drew comic books for the local, I think our grade school magazine and newspaper. I acted not so good, but I acted in some of the plays also. And so I found a lot of different creative outlets when I was young. I found that these creative outlets helped me to be more social. I was also a very, very shy kid. I lacked a lot of confidence in myself. And I was the youngest of 4. And so I grew up in a suburb of Seattle. And granted, I had a good handful of friends, but I just had a lot of kind of personal internal struggles of how do I be more myself? How do I feel comfortable with myself? And I had difficulties even expressing myself because I had a speech impediment. I stuttered. I got teased. And I know a lot of us, when we're young especially, get teased for different things. But, I got teased, and I started looking for a lot of creative outlets. And so as I went into writing and loved that, it kind of evolved into my love of storytelling just in general. I came across our family video camera one day, and I was 7, 8, and it was a high 8 camera shot on tape a little after the celluloid and film days. But it was this tape camera, and a couple of my buddies around the neighborhood, we all started filming the most random videos. The videos, I still have a few of them. They're really embarrassing to watch now, but they were so much fun. And it gave us kind of, this way to share interesting stories and just have lots of fun. But little did I know that spark of creativity there and for that love of storytelling was something that I wanted to make a career out of. So as I got older, I took a few video classes in high school, but I kind of dropped off the map with video a little bit. I still had a deep love for movies and storytelling and content creation, but I feel like reality set in. I think that although I was still being creative in different ways, the reality of whether it was my parents or society or teachers or just self-imposed realism that content creation, storytelling, filmmaking wasn't a viable career. You had to do something that was in demand and something that you could, on paper, make good money off of it. It was realistic. And so, because I was just shy kid, I took a lot of direction to be like, well, I should go do something. Should go study in college, and get a degree in something that would for sure have jobs available after I graduated, and get into a cushy, secure job that would provide what I needed to live a comfortable life. So in college, I started off as a business major, and then that was good. Business is a good major. And then I was like, I don't know if I'm feeling this. So I jumped into economics, and then I went from economics to information technology, so IT. And what I had asked myself is like, well, what did I find myself doing? I found that I was really techie growing up, which was true. Like I love technology. I grew up on, like, I feel like the internet and I grew up together. I remember the early days where my dad worked at a tech company, and he would always kind of be at the top of each evolution of tech, the digital age, technology with the internet. And I remember when he bought shoes for the first time online, it was massive. I remember the sound of dial-up. I remember how slow everything was. I remember when cell phones were not a thing at all. And this wasn't very long ago. So technology was a career that, it didn't make sense. But as I got into the classes and the academics and the variety of what IT offered in that industry, I felt really only connected to web design and project management. I was getting kind of disheartened with the fact that I didn't really connect with my classmates. I had a completely different head on my shoulders towards them. I did fine, but I once again kind of lacked an element of confidence or really passion. And so it was also during this time that I began to experiment and dig back into filmmaking and content creation again. I didn't take really any video classes through college, but I threw myself into the filmmaking world by just really creating a feature film as a student. I wrote, directed, produced, edited. I did really all the things of an 82-minute feature film as a young college student because I wanted to be thrown into the trenches and do it myself. So in the process, I sourced over 30 people to help on the cast and crew with the film, shot it for like $1,000 or $2,000, super cheap. We didn't spend any money, and we premiered it. It just sold out. It's a sold out premiere at the local theater, and it was that experience, although nerves are high, that really sparked my love even more for creativity, filmmaking, and the power of a good story used through visual content. And so that was really the turning point, I feel like, from my desire to be a storyteller and to do content as my career. And it gave me an extra massive boost of confidence that I can make this work. So then I got a job at a massive broadcast facility. I started doing corporate production. I started doing live events and live streaming and learning a lot of technical skills to support my techie side. And then I fed more of my storytelling side with more and more short films. And then I took that big leap, jumped into the world after graduating into filmmaking and content creation. And I've built a content strategy and business around this idea that content has the power to impact us as we focus on story and as we focus on building just authentic relationships within the experience. So now that I've jumped into the world of storytelling, content creation, and filmmaking full time, I feel like the passion never leaves. I'm passionate and loving what I do every single day. So my love of connecting with people, storytelling, all really evolved into what content supply is now and will always be in the future. And that is a story-centric and relationship-based business, that we use content to help tell people stories. Many of us have the tools, right? We have our phones, we have our webcams, we have all this technology at our fingertips to tell better stories, but it doesn't mean those tools are going to improve our stories or our storytelling. So it really takes an understanding of story and what you want your audience or your customer to do as your end goal to be established before you even hit record on your phone, on your camera, or you start writing that blog article, or you start designing that image, or even starting that podcast. Having an end goal in mind was the key. And that's what Content Supply aims to do. It's to help people identify what that goal is with their content, and then providing a way for them to reach that goal through content. And so the cool thing about Content Supply is that it's a custom experience. It's an agency experience. You can get a very custom month-to-month plan, or you can subscribe to a flat rate of receiving your own custom supply of content. So you supply the files, Content Supply polishes them, edits them, and optimizes them for the channel and the end goal that you have with that piece of content, or those many pieces of content. Unlimited requests and limited revisions, all to fill that gap of content that exists for the brands that you are trying to build and the impact you're trying to bring into the world. Because we all have goals and ways that we measure success and just these big visions for our businesses. And so to get there, we need to, one, obviously identify what that product or service will be to provide that impact. Two, we need content to deliver that message. And three, we need a way to sell people or to earn money from that message, which would be your conversion tool or your funnel. So content fits right there in the middle and provides the means for you to tell your story and to get your message out there, to sell your products. I've had some discussions about it recently, and it really is, it's amazing. Like, yeah, I say content, we talk about content, and that covers, I know, so many things. Websites are content, newspapers are content. Content is so many things around us in the world, but specific to what you need as an entrepreneur, as a funnel builder, marketer, someone trying to make an impact, is there is that skills gap. There is that need for more content. And so I hope that Content Supply fits into that area, that world. Think of it like a marathon. There are so many analogies to marathons, but there's a starting line. There's that product and service. You know what the end goal is. You want them to buy. There's the finish line. So that sprint or that run in between the starting and the finish line is where all your content lives to guide people on that path. And so it's what you hear, it's what you see, it's what you experience. And it's piecing together all those different types of content to tell a cohesive story for your brand, both personally and everyone who represents your brand and your message. That's just such the cool thing about content creation and being able to connect up brands who need that content and suppliers to create that content, hence Content Supply. So thanks for listening to this quick story, this quick introduction to how Content Supply, why it was created. And if you do have any questions about it, reach out to me across social media. I'm on all the socials. I would love to answer any questions. We can even schedule a free discovery call to talk about it, or just connect personally too. I love connecting with people on a personal level. Ultimately, like, relationships, I feel like, are the best thing about this world of entrepreneurship, is you're able just to get to know people and learn about them as a person, learn about their family, learn about what makes them tick, and just really be inspired to what they do and how they love life. So I'm a huge fan of relationships and getting to know more people. So if you have thoughts about the show, want to leave a review even, have questions about content supply, or just want to connect anyway, you can find me across the socials at Dallin Nead. And of course, go on over to contentsupply.com and check it out. Thanks again. I'm so glad you're here, and I can't wait to share more here at Content Supply. See ya.